First contact physicals. Dr. Zixera adjusted her crystalline sensory appendages as she reviewed the upcoming patient roster for the Galactic Medical Exchange Program. After 3 cycles of preparation, the Centauri Medical Station would finally receive its first human patients. As the station's chief xenophysiologist, she had studied the preliminary data on human biology extensively, but something about their readings seemed off. Dr. Zixera, her assistant Nixus chirped, his bioluminescent patterns flickering with excitement. The transport has docked. The first group of human candidates for deep space certification has arrived. She straightened her environment suit, her crystalline form catching the soft blue light of the medical bay. Very well. Let's see what makes these humans so interesting. The medical bay doors parted with a soft hiss, revealing 5 humans of varying sizes and pigmentations. Their soft, exposed skin and bilateral symmetry wasn't unusual among carbon-based life forms, but something about their casual stance in the station's artificial gravity caught her attention. "Welcome to Centauri Medical Station," she announced through her universal translator. "I am Dr. Zixera, Chief Cinephysiologist. Today's examinations will determine your compatibility with deep space service." The tallest human, a female with dark skin and tightly coiled hair, stepped forward. "Dr. Sarah Chen, Mission Specialist. We appreciate the Galactic Council's thoroughness in ensuring our safety." Zixera's crystals hummed with curiosity. The human showed no signs of distress despite the station's higher-than-Earth standard gravity. According to their files, humans evolved on a relatively heavy world, but their fragile appearance suggested otherwise. "Please proceed to your assigned diagnostic chambers," she instructed, watching as each human moved with surprising grace. "We'll begin with basic physiological scans." The first anomaly appeared almost immediately. "Nixus," she called, her crystals flickering with concern. "Verify these readings. There must be an error in the calibration." Her assistant glided over, his own bioluminescence pulsing with confusion as he examined the holographic displays. "The equipment appears to be functioning correctly, Doctor. But these readings—" "Impossible," she muttered, adjusting her sensory arrays. No carbon-based life form could maintain homeostasis with such an inefficient respiratory system. And these endurance readings. The humans waited patiently in their chambers, seemingly unaware of the growing commotion among the medical staff. Dr. Chen raised an eyebrow as more alien medical personnel gathered around the monitoring stations. "Is everything all right, Dr. Zixera?" she asked, her voice carrying a hint of amusement. "Your species," Zixera began, her crystalline form vibrating with scientific excitement. "You maintain continuous activity without rest cycles, and your cellular repair occurs while still conscious." "You mean sleep?" Another human, a male with pale skin and red hair, chuckled. "Yeah, we can go a few days without it if we need to. Not recommended, but possible." Nixus's patterns flashed with alarm. Continuous consciousness for multiple planetary rotations, without entering stasis. The biological cost would be... Zixera started calculating, her crystals resonating with confusion. "Your metabolic efficiency should make this impossible. Unless..." She focused her sensors on their circulatory systems, and her crystalline form nearly shattered in shock. "Your blood cells. They're carrying oxidizing metals, voluntarily. Iron-based hemoglobin," Dr. Chen explained, still seeming amused. "Pretty standard for Earth life forms." "Standard." Zixera's translator nearly glitched on the word. "You evolved to deliberately incorporate a corrosive element into your oxygen transport system." The third human, a woman with olive skin and silver-streaked black hair, joined the conversation. "Dr. Maria Santos, cynobiologist. Perhaps we could share our medical database. It might help explain some of our peculiarities." Zixera's crystals pulsed with barely contained excitement. "Yes, please. But first, these readings on your skeletal structure. You're constantly breaking down and rebuilding your support framework." "Dynamic remodeling," Dr. Santos confirmed. Our bones adapt to the stresses we put on them. It's why we maintain muscle mass in varying gravity conditions better than expected. The medical bay erupted in a chorus of translated exclamations as more of the station's specialists reviewed the incoming data. Humans didn't just survive in their environment. They actively adapted to it, constantly rewriting their own biology in response to external pressures. And these neurotransmitter readings, Nixis chimed in, his pattern showing pure fascination. Your stress response, it actually improves performance. Adrenaline, the red-haired human grinned. Hell of a drug. Zixera had to pause her sensors for a moment to process this information. These humans had evolved on a death world with such intense selection pressures that they'd developed biological systems that seemed to defy conventional efficiency models. Their bodies were in a constant state of adaptation, repair, and improvement. Dr. Chen, she finally managed, her crystalline form humming with newfound respect. I believe we need to completely revise our deep space certification protocols. Your species' adaptability, it's unprecedented. We prefer to call it human nature, Chen smiled. We're pretty good at surviving where we shouldn't. As the examinations continued, Zixera found herself repeatedly amazed. The humans' endocrine systems could modify their metabolism on the fly. Their immune systems maintained libraries of past threats and could recognize new ones. Even their digestive systems showed remarkable flexibility, capable of extracting nutrients from a vast array of organic compounds. Final readings are complete, Nixis announced, his patterns displaying a mix of awe and disbelief. All human candidates show full compatibility with deep space conditions. In fact, he paused, double-checking his data. Their biological adaptability suggests they might perform better than several established spacefaring species. Of course we will, the red-haired human said with a grin. Humans don't just survive, we adapt. It's kind of our thing. Zixera's crystals pulsed with what could only be described as excitement. Dr. Chen, with your permission, I would like to propose a joint research initiative. Your species' biological solutions to evolutionary challenges. They could revolutionize our understanding of adaptive systems. I thought you might say that, Chen replied, sharing knowing looks with her fellow humans. We've learned that our biology tends to have that effect on galactic medical science. Still can't decide if it's our redundant organs, our regenerative abilities, or our habit of incorporating toxic elements that surprises people more. All of it, Zixera admitted, her crystalline form resonating with newfound respect. Your entire evolutionary approach challenges our fundamental assumptions about biological efficiency. You didn't just survive on your death world. You turned its challenges into advantages. As the humans prepared to leave the medical bay, now officially certified for deep space service, Zixera found herself reorganizing everything she thought she knew about biological evolution. These humans, with their seemingly inefficient yet incredibly adaptive biology, had just opened up entirely new avenues of medical research. Nixis, she called to her assistant as they watched the humans leave. Update the medical database. Classification for human biology. Adaptive extremophiles. And add a note. Conventional efficiency models do not apply. Evolution has solutions we haven't even imagined yet. The humans had passed their physicals with flying colors, but more importantly, they had just revolutionized galactic medicine's understanding of what was possible. And somehow, Zixera suspected this was just the beginning of what humanity would teach them about the true potential of biological adaptation. The impossible patient. 2 standard cycles had passed since the initial human examinations, and Dr. Zixera's medical bay had been transformed into a hub of xenobiological research. Holographic displays showed continuous streams of data from human volunteer studies, each revealing new surprises about Earth's dominant species. The quiet hum of medical equipment was shattered by emergency alerts. Priority medical transport incoming. Nix's bioluminescent patterns flashed urgent red. Human patient, severe trauma during low-orbit construction accident. multiple fractures, internal bleeding, extreme temperature exposure. Zixera's crystalline form vibrated with concern. Prepare emergency bay 3. Alert Dr. Chen and Dr. Santos. We'll need their expertise. The medical bay doors burst open as the transport team rushed in with their patient. Even with her extensive experience, Zixera felt her crystalline structure resonate with shock at the sight. The human male lay unconscious on the hover stretcher, his environment suit torn and frozen on one side, scorched on the other. Marcus Reynolds, age 34, Dr. Chen reported, rushing alongside the stretcher. He was installing solar arrays when his tether failed. Spent 3 minutes exposed to space before emergency retrieval. 3 minutes. Zixera's translator struggled to convey her disbelief. Without a functioning suit, humans can survive vacuum exposure briefly. Dr. Santos explained, already checking vital signs. But that's not our biggest problem. Impact trauma during the emergency retrieval caused significant internal injuries. Zixera's sensors swept over the patient, creating a 3-dimensional damage assessment. Multiple rib fractures, pneumothorax, liver laceration. How is he still alive? Because we're stubborn that way, Chen replied, helping transfer Reynolds to the medical pod. Human bodies are remarkably hard to kill, something about evolving as persistence hunters. The medical pod systems began their work, but almost immediately started sending warning signals. The automated treatment protocols weren't designed for human biology's aggressive responses. His stress hormones are off the scale, Nixis reported, his patterns showing confusion. And his immune system are those new cell types. Emergency adaptation, Santos confirmed. Human bodies get creative under extreme stress. We need to work with his natural responses, not against them. Zixera watched in fascination as the human's body seemed to reorganize its priorities. Blood flow redirected to vital organs, clotting factors deployed with precision, and damaged tissue began transforming almost immediately. The tissue around the fractures, she observed, it's already preparing for healing. How is this possible with such severe systemic shock? Humans don't wait for optimal conditions to heal, Chen explained, adjusting the medical pod settings. We start repairs immediately, even if the situation isn't stable. It's not always pretty, but it keeps us alive. Hours passed as they worked to support Reynolds' own healing processes rather than trying to override them. Zixera found herself repeatedly amazed by the human body's ability to function in states that should have been fatal. Doctor, Nixis called, his patterns showing confusion. His consciousness is returning. But these pain levels, shouldn't he be in complete systemic shock? Pain is more of a suggestion for humans, Santos said with a grim smile. Especially in survival situations, our bodies can choose to ignore it. Reynolds' eyes fluttered open, immediately trying to focus on his surroundings. Did anyone get the number of that space bus? Humor in the face of near death, Zixera noted, her crystals pulsing with amazement. Another human survival trait. Keeps us sane, Reynolds managed, wincing as he tried to move. Status report. Chen stepped into his field of view. You took a spacewalk without a functional suit. Got flash frozen and radiation burned on one side, superheated on the other, then bounced off a rescue shuttle. By any reasonable medical standard, you should be dead. Tuesday, then. Reynolds attempted a smile, then grew serious. The arrays. Secured by the backup team, Santos assured him. Though I'm more interested in how you maintained consciousness long enough to assist in your own rescue. Training kicks in, he shrugged, immediately regretting the movement. Body knows what to do, brain just needs to stay out of the way. Zixera's sensors detected the complex cascade of chemicals his body was producing. Pain suppressants, tissue repair factors, and something else. Your hormone levels. You're already preparing to adapt to prevent similar injuries. Standard human response, Chen confirmed. We don't just heal damage. We try to get better at preventing it next time. Our bodies learn from every near-death experience. Remarkable. Zixera's crystals hummed with excitement. Your species treats near-fatal incidents as learning opportunities. No wonder you've advanced so quickly in space exploration. We call it failing forward, Reynolds commented, his voice stronger now. Every disaster teaches us something new about survival. As the medical team continued monitoring Reynolds' seemingly impossible recovery, Zixera found herself revising her understanding of biological resilience. Humans didn't just have redundant systems, they had systems designed to fail safely, adapt rapidly, and learn from every challenge. Update the medical protocols, she instructed Nixus. Human emergency treatment should focus on supporting their natural responses rather than trying to impose standard recovery patterns. They've already developed better solutions than we could design. And add a note about their pain response, Chen suggested with a wry smile. Human pain scale is differently calibrated from galactic standard. Speaking of pain, Reynolds interjected, any chance I could get back to work next week? These arrays won't install themselves. The medical bay fell silent as every alien present tried to process this request. Zixera's crystalline form flickered with what had become her standard response to human behavior, a mixture of horror and admiration. Your bones are literally still knitting themselves back together, she pointed out. Yeah, but they'll be stronger afterward, right? Reynolds grinned. Might as well put them to good use. I'm beginning to understand why your species has achieved so much in such a short time, Zixera admitted. You don't just survive adversity. You actively seek out challenges that should kill you, then adapt to overcome them. That's humanity for you, Santos laughed. Give us something impossible to survive, and we'll turn it into an extreme sport. As Zixera watched her impossible patient begin his recovery, she couldn't help but wonder what other surprises human biology had in store. One thing was certain. The galaxy would never be the same now that humanity had joined the interstellar community. They weren't just survivors. They were living proof that what doesn't kill you really does make you stronger. Research revolution. The Grand Amphitheater of the Galactic Medical Academy was packed with representatives from over 30 spacefaring species. Dr. Zixera's crystalline form glowed with subtle patterns of nervous energy as she prepared to present 6 months of research on human biology. In the front row, Dr. Chen and Dr. Santos sat alongside Marcus Reynolds, now fully recovered and somehow looking even stronger than before his accident. Distinguished colleagues, Zixera began, her translator perfectly modulated. What you are about to see will challenge everything we thought we knew about biological evolution and adaptation. The holographic display behind her came to life, showing a time-lapse of human cellular regeneration. This is not accelerated footage. Human tissue repair occurs at rates we previously considered theoretically impossible without technological intervention. Murmurs rippled through the audience as she continued. But speed is not the most remarkable aspect. Observe the cellular behavior during repair. The display zoomed in, showing cells adapting and changing their functions in real time. Human bodies don't just repair damage. They actively redesign themselves to prevent similar injuries in the future. They are, in essence, running continuous biological engineering experiments on themselves. A Valaxian scientist raised their tentacle. Surely such rapid mutation risks cellular instability. That's what makes it even more remarkable. Zixera responded, her crystals pulsing with excitement. Humans have evolved sophisticated error-checking mechanisms. Their DNA repair systems are so robust that they can maintain genetic stability while allowing for controlled adaptive changes. The display shifted to show comparative stress response data. Consider their reaction to environmental extremes. When exposed to high gravity, human bones don't just strengthen, they completely remodel their internal structure. In low gravity, their bodies develop new circulatory patterns to maintain blood pressure. Dr. Santos stood up, adding to the presentation. We call it phenotypic plasticity, the ability to modify our physical characteristics in response to environmental conditions. It's common in Earth life forms. common. A crystalline scientist like Zixera vibrated with disbelief. Your entire planet evolved this way. Earth's history is marked by extreme environmental changes, Chen explained. Species that couldn't adapt didn't survive. We're the descendants of the ones that could adapt to anything. The display changed again, showing Marcus Reynolds' medical data from his space accident. This case study demonstrates perhaps the most remarkable aspect of human biology, their ability to survive what should be fatal conditions through sheer biological stubbornness. Reynolds grinned as his medical readings appeared on screen, showing survival despite multiple system failures. The audience's reaction was a mixture of horror and fascination. Humans don't just have redundant systems, Zixera continued. They have redundancies for their redundancies. And when all else fails, their bodies can temporarily shut down non-essential functions to preserve core survival. But the metabolic cost, another scientist began, is completely ignored in emergency situations, Santos interrupted. We can worry about efficiency after we survive. Zixera's crystals pulsed with what had become her signature expression of amazement at human capabilities. Their bodies can literally defer the consequences of physical stress until after the crisis has passed. It's as if their biology operates on credit, taking out loans against future recovery time. The display shifted to show comparative healing rates across species. Most remarkably, humans seem to heal faster when active rather than at rest. Their tissue repair actually accelerates under moderate stress. We get antsy when we're stuck in bed. Reynolds shrugged, drawing chuckles from the human contingent and bewildered expressions from most aliens. This brings us to our most significant finding, Zixera announced, her crystalline form glowing brighter with excitement. Human biological adaptations don't just allow them to survive. They drive them to explore and expand constantly. Their bodies are literally designed to seek out and overcome new challenges. The final display showed human performance data in various extreme environments. They don't just adapt to survive. They adapt to thrive. Every challenge they overcome makes them better equipped for the next one. It's why we went to space in the first place, Chen added. Not because we had to, but because we couldn't resist the challenge. Precisely, Zixera agreed. And this drive for constant improvement extends to their healing. Humans don't just recover, they come back stronger. Their biology treats every injury as a learning opportunity. The presentation concluded with a startling proposal. Based on our research, we recommend reclassifying humans as an adaptive apex species. Their biological capabilities suggest they may be among the most environmentally adaptable species we've encountered. The amphitheater erupted in discussion. Some scientists appeared skeptical, others fascinated, but none could deny the data before them. There's an old Earth saying. Santos addressed the crowd as the debate grew heated. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. We meant it literally. And that's the true marvel of human biology, Zixera concluded, her crystals pulsing with profound respect. They evolved on a planet that constantly tried to kill them. And instead of just surviving, they turned every threat into an opportunity for improvement. As the presentation concluded and the academic debate began in earnest, Zixera noticed Reynolds talking with a group of alien medical researchers, apparently discussing the possibility of more extreme stress response studies. The humans' enthusiasm for pushing their own limits continued to amaze her. Dr. Chen, she called out, her crystals flickering with curiosity. I must ask, does anything actually frighten your species? Chen smiled, watching Reynolds volunteer for what sounded like increasingly dangerous experiments. Oh, plenty of things scare us. We just have this odd habit of running toward whatever scares us to figure out how to beat it. A species that turns fear into curiosity. Zixera mused, her crystalline form resonating with newfound understanding. Perhaps that's the most remarkable adaptation of all. The implications were clear. Humanity wasn't just joining the galactic community, they were about to revolutionize it. Their unique approach to biological challenges would open new frontiers in medicine, exploration, and adaptation. The galaxy would never be the same, And based on everything Zix-Era had learned about humans, that was exactly how they liked it. Crisis point. Warning klaxons shattered the usual calm of Centauri Medical Station's research level. Dr. Zix-Era's crystalline form vibrated with alarm as emergency alerts flooded the communication channels. A catastrophic failure in the station's primary reactor was causing cascading systems failures throughout the facility. Status report, she demanded, her sensors struggling to process the chaos unfolding around her. Nix's bioluminescent patterns flashed urgent red. Primary power grid failing. Environmental systems compromised. Radiation containment. Breach imminent. Begin immediate evacuation, Zix-Era ordered, her crystals pulsing with emergency patterns. Priority to critical patients and belay that order. Dr. Chen's voice cut through the chaos as she burst into the medical bay. We've got bigger problems. The reactor's quantum cascade is accelerating. If it goes critical, it'll take out half the sector. Reynolds appeared behind her, already suited up in repair gear. The automated systems can't handle it. Someone needs to get in there and manually stabilize the reaction. Impossible. Nixis flashed. Radiation levels in the reactor chamber are already beyond survivable limits for any known species. Good thing we're not a known species then. Reynolds grinned, checking his equipment. Human bodies are surprisingly good at handling radiation. We've been doing it since we figured out fire. Zix-Era's crystalline structure vibrated with concern. Even with your remarkable healing abilities, the exposure would be fatal. Eventually, Chen agreed, helping Reynolds adjust his protective gear. But we can survive long enough to get the job done. Our cells can keep functioning even with significant radiation damage. And we've got a secret weapon, Reynolds added, pulling out what looked like a simple injectable. Our medical team's been working on this since we started space exploration. Temporary radiation resistance boost, based on studying extremophile bacteria from Earth. Dr. Santos rushed in, carrying more of the injectors. It's not officially approved yet, but neither is dying from reactor failure. This will buy us about 20 minutes of enhanced radiation resistance. 20 minutes is all we need, Chen declared, taking an injector. Zix-Era, we'll need your team to coordinate from here. Monitor our vitals and guide us through the stabilization process. You can't seriously be considering. Zix-Era began, but the humans were already moving. No time to argue, Reynolds called back. Besides, humans have a pretty good track record with impossible situations. The next 20 minutes were a testament to human endurance and adaptability. Zix-Era and her team watched in amazement as Chen and Reynolds fought their way through failing systems and lethal radiation to reach the reactor core. Their cellular decay rates are accelerating, Nixis reported, his patterns showing deep concern. But their repair mechanisms are somehow keeping pace. That's the thing about human DNA, Santos explained, monitoring their teammates' vital signs. It doesn't just break down under radiation, it fights back. We've evolved repair mechanisms that can work even while taking damage. Through the monitoring systems, they watched as the humans reached the reactor chamber. The radiation levels were so high that the sensors themselves were beginning to fail. Core temperature critical, Chen reported, her voice strained but focused. Manual override engage. Reynolds, we need to reset the quantum alignment while I hold the containment field. On it, Reynolds responded. Good thing we're naturally resistant to quantum uncertainty. Something about our neurons being quantum sensitive. Zix-Era's crystals pulsed with realization. Of course, human consciousness itself operates partially on quantum principles. Your brains can instinctively process quantum states that would drive other species to madness. Less science, more saving everyone, Chen grunted, clearly struggling with the containment controls. Reynolds, status. Almost. There. The strain in his voice was evident. Just need to. Got it. Quantum field stabilizing. Core temperature dropping. The station's emergency alerts began to quiet one by one as systems returned to normal. But Zixera's relief was short-lived as she saw the humans' medical readings. "Get them out of there now," she ordered. "Their cellular damage is approaching critical levels." Emergency teams rushed to extract Chen and Reynolds from the reactor chamber. When they were finally brought to the medical bay, both humans were conscious but severely affected by the radiation exposure. "Their DNA should be completely shattered," Nixis observed in amazement. "But look, their repair mechanisms are still working. They're literally rebuilding their cells while we watch." "Told you, humans are stubborn." Chen managed a weak smile from her medical pod. "We don't like giving up just because our DNA is falling apart." "Besides," Reynolds added, looking somehow amused despite his condition, "this'll probably make us better at handling radiation in the future. That's how human biology works, right?" Zixera's medical team worked tirelessly, supporting the humans' natural healing processes as their bodies fought to repair the massive radiation damage. Against all conventional medical knowledge, both Chen and Reynolds began showing signs of recovery within days. "It's not just that they survived," Santos explained to the amazed alien medical staff. "Their bodies are actually adapting to be more radiation resistant. They're learning from the experience, just like they do with every other challenge." "Remarkable." Zixera's crystals pulsed with wonder. "You not only survived what should have been certain death, you're going to come out of it stronger." "That's kind of our species' signature move," Chen commented from her recovery bed. "Though maybe next time we'll finish those radiation resistance drugs before we need them." "Next time." Zixera's translator struggled to convey her disbelief. "You're already planning for next time." "Of course," Reynolds grinned. "Now that we know it's possible, we need to figure out how to do it better. Maybe design some specialized shielding based on how our bodies handled the exposure." The medical bay fell silent as the alien staff tried to process this typically human response to near-death experience. Here they were, still recovering from lethal radiation exposure and already planning improvements for their next impossible feat. "I think I finally understand," Zixera announced, her crystalline form resonating with profound realization. "Your greatest adaptation isn't your ability to survive. It's your drive to turn every survival situation into an opportunity for advancement." "That's humanity in a nutshell," Santos agreed. "We don't just want to live through challenges. We want to master them. It's gotten us into plenty of trouble, but it's also why we're here among the stars." As the station returned to normal operations, word of the humans' impossible feats spread throughout the galactic community. They hadn't just prevented a disaster. They had demonstrated yet again that human biology operated on principles that defied conventional understanding. "Update the medical database," Zixera instructed Nixis. "Add a new note to the human species profile. Warning: standard probability of survival calculations do not apply. Humans will routinely survive scenarios classified as unsurvivable and emerge stronger for the experience." Looking at her recovering patients, already discussing improvements to radiation shielding technology, Zixera couldn't help but wonder what other impossible feats humanity would achieve. One thing was certain: the galaxy would never be quite the same now that humans had joined the interstellar community, and based on everything she had learned about them, that was probably for the best. Paradigm shift. The Grand Hall of the Galactic Medical Council had never been so crowded. Representatives from every spacefaring civilization gathered for what many were calling the most important medical conference in centuries. Dr. Zixera stood at the center of it all, her crystalline form gleaming under the hall's ethereal lighting as she prepared to present the culmination of a year's research into human biology. In the front row, Dr. Chen and Marcus Reynolds sat alongside Dr. Santos, all fully recovered and somehow looking more vital than ever. Their presence was a testament to human resilience, living proof of their species' remarkable capabilities. "Esteemed colleagues," Zixera began, her crystals pulsing with confident patterns, "1 year ago, we thought we understood the limits of biological adaptation. Today, we stand humbled by evidence that we didn't even understand the questions, let alone the answers. The holographic display behind her came to life, showing a complex web of interconnected biological systems. This is not a theoretical model. This is human biology in action, a symphony of adaptability that challenges our fundamental understanding of life itself. The display zoomed in on cellular structures. We've discovered that human biology doesn't just push the boundaries of what we thought possible, it completely redefines them. Their cells don't just repair damage, they anticipate future challenges. They don't just survive stress, they thrive on it. A Wallachian scientist raised their appendage. But surely such aggressive adaptation comes at a cost. The energy requirements alone. That's the beauty of it, Dr. Santos interjected, standing to join Zixera. Our bodies don't waste energy maintaining peak condition at all times. Instead, we adapt to exactly what we need, when we need it. Consider their bone structure, Zixera continued, the display shifting to show human skeletal adaptation. In high gravity, their bones don't just strengthen. They completely redesign their internal architecture. In low gravity, rather than losing mass, they develop new patterns of strength that require less material. We call it efficient laziness. Reynolds grinned. Why maintain more than you need when you can just rebuild it later? The display changed to show the radiation incident data. During the recent station crisis, we witnessed human biology performing what should have been impossible. Their cells continued functioning even as their DNA was being damaged, conducting repairs in real time under conditions that should have caused immediate system failure. But the most remarkable discovery, Chen added, joining them at the podium, isn't our ability to survive extreme conditions. It's our ability to learn from them. The holographic display showed comparative scans of Chen and Reynolds before and after the radiation exposure. Their bodies didn't just recover, they adapted. They developed new cellular mechanisms to handle radiation more efficiently. What should have killed them made them stronger. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the audience. A crystalline scientist like Zixera vibrated with skepticism. Such rapid evolution should be impossible without genetic engineering. That's where you're wrong, Santos explained. Our entire evolutionary history is based on adapting to challenges that should have killed us. We didn't engineer this ability. We evolved it naturally because anything less meant extinction on Earth. Earth, Zixera's crystals pulsed with understanding. We've been so focused on human biology that we almost missed the bigger picture. Their entire planet is a laboratory of extreme adaptation. The display shifted to show Earth's evolutionary history, mass extinctions, radical climate changes, and the species that survived them all. Humans aren't an anomaly, Zixera continued. They're the product of a world that never stopped trying to kill them. Every impossible adaptation they show us is the result of countless generations facing extinction-level challenges and finding ways to survive. More than survive, Reynolds corrected. We learn to turn those challenges into advantages. Why avoid something dangerous when you can learn to use it instead? Which brings us to our most significant finding, Zixera announced, her crystalline form glowing with excitement. Human biology doesn't just adapt to survive. It adapts to excel. Every challenge they overcome becomes a new tool in their arsenal. The display showed a montage of human achievements: deep-sea exploration, mountain climbing, spacewalking, each demonstrating their species' remarkable adaptability. They don't view biological limits as boundaries to respect, but as challenges to overcome. It's why we went to space before we were technically ready, Chen explained. We saw an impossible challenge and couldn't resist trying to beat it. And this drive, Zixera continued, this constant push to exceed their limits has led to something unprecedented. Humans don't just adapt to their environment. They adapt their environment to create new challenges for themselves. The final display showed the proposed modifications to the galactic medical protocols. We've been approaching human medical treatment completely wrong. Instead of trying to protect them from stress, we need to help them adapt to it. Instead of preventing them from pushing their limits, we need to help them push safely. Because here's the truth we've discovered, Santos added. Humans don't break under pressure, they evolve. Every challenge we survive makes us better equipped for the next one. It's not just our biology, it's our entire approach to existence. The council chamber erupted in discussion as the implications became clear. Humanity wasn't just joining the galactic community, they were about to revolutionize it. Their unique approach to biological challenges would open new frontiers in medicine, exploration, and adaptation. There's an old human saying, Reynolds addressed the council, his voice carrying over the debate. The only limits that exist are the ones we accept. We've never been good at accepting limits. And that, Zix-Era concluded, her crystals pulsing with profound respect, is perhaps their greatest gift to the galaxy. Humans don't just show us what's possible. They show us that impossible is just a temporary state of understanding. As the council moved to vote on the new protocols, Zix-Era turned to her human colleagues. I must ask, does anything actually frighten your species? Chen smiled, watching as the council began drafting plans for joint human-alien medical research projects. Oh, plenty of things scare us. We just have this odd habit of getting curious about what scares us. And once we're curious about something, you have to figure out how to master it. Zix-Era finished, her crystals flickering with what had become her equivalent of a smile. A species that turns fear into scientific inquiry. No wonder you've achieved so much in so little time. The vote was unanimous. The Galactic Medical Council would not only accept human biological capabilities, but would actively work to learn from them. New research initiatives were approved, joint medical facilities planned, and exchange programs established. Update the medical database one final time. Zix-Era instructed Nixus. Classification: humans, adaptive pioneers. Note: standard limitations do not apply. Expect the unexpected, and then expect them to exceed that too. As the council session concluded, Zix-Era watched her human colleagues already planning their next impossible project. They had not only survived in a galaxy that wasn't designed for them, they had thrived, adapted, and were now helping to reshape it. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly how humanity liked it. After all, as they had proven time and again, the only thing humans liked better than overcoming impossible challenges was finding new ones to tackle. To the future, Chen raised a celebratory drink, and all the impossible things we're going to do together. To the impossible, Zix-Era agreed, her crystalline form resonating with anticipation of what was to come. Or as humans would say, to Tuesday.